3 out of every 10 children aged between 5 and 9 do not go to school. 2 out of every 8 child between 10 and 19 has never gone to school. So this is the problem that we've got to address. If our country is going to move forward, if it is going to join the top nations of the world, and it can, this has to be addressed. And it doesn't end there. It's not just the children that are out of school. The children that are attending school, a lot of the government schools have become so dysfunctional that they're not really learning anything over there. Half the children that come out of there at the 5th grade cannot do a simple 2-digit math problem. So that's the other aspect of the problem. Children out of school and children in school but not getting the proper education. DCF, the beauty of DCF is that it wasn't something that some organization in the US or in Europe or Japan or somebody thought up. This was Pakistanis who came up with a solution for a Pakistani problem. These are Pakistanis who live in Pakistan and are in the middle of the whole problem and see it day to day. What is the DCF model? DCF was determined that just because these are poor children, we will not provide them poor schools. We will give them high quality schools. And the reason is that we have a huge barrier in Pakistan. The poor can never get out of their poverty if they don't get a decent education. They're generation after generation doomed to stay in that poverty. So we had to break that barrier, and that is why we set out to give high quality formal education. So the schools cater to the most needy. I would invite each and every one of you to please, when you go to Pakistan next, please give us the opportunity to show you a DCF school. You will see that the neighborhoods these schools are in are some of the poorest neighborhoods. They have open sewers, they have kids that are either on the streets or are working in garages and fisheries and things like that. So we took the schools to the children. We built the schools right in these neighborhoods so the children won't have to travel to get to these schools. They're purpose-built, they're designed, they're beautiful schools. I'll show you some pictures and you'll see how beautiful they are. So for these children, this is the best part of their day. The rest of their day is spent amongst poverty and squalor. Here they are in a beautiful school, gardens, teachers paying attention to them. It's just amazing. Gender balance. We were determined that we were going to get as many girls into these schools as possible. Because the impact of educating a girl is much greater than the impact of educating a boy. Because they educate their children and so on and so forth. So to do that, and I love the thought process of the DCF founders. They sit through every problem and they come up with really innovative solutions. They said, okay, if you want girls to come to the schools, what will be some of the barriers that will keep parents from sending their girls to school? So, well, maybe if they're male teachers, they'll hesitate to send these girls to their daughters to these schools. So they said, okay, we'll go with the all-female faculty. So that was a big boom. Every teacher in DCF, and now there are 7,700 teachers, women who have been hired, trained, and are employed as teachers in DCF schools. That alone is a big achievement. That's it. That's employment for 7,700 women and training for them. So then the next step, the thought that came to them was, what will be the issues that these teachers will face in teaching in our schools? How can we convince women to come and work at a DCF school? They realized that families, the fathers, the husbands, will not want their daughters or their wives to struggle in the public transport system. So what they did was they got this fleet fleet of these little Suzuki vans. Every school has a van, every school has a driver that picks up each and every teacher in the morning from her house, brings her to the school, and at the end of the day, takes her back. Okay. The other thing was quality education. I mentioned that before, and I'll show you some of the stats to show how they have delivered on that quality education. And they're professionally managed. There's a main head office in Karachi, and then there are regional offices in Islamabad, Lahore, and other places. And the other thing was, we were not going to do this just for the people of Karachi, or just for the people of Sindh, or just for the people of Punjab. He said, we've got to reach each and every nook and cranny of this nation. So the TCF schools, and this is one thing that we have got to celebrate today. This is the year we reached the target of 1,000 schools. TCF has built 1,000 schools now. The enrollment is 145,000 children that are getting a high quality education. Children who would have otherwise not received any education at all. And these schools are in Azad Kashmir, they're in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, they're in Punjab, they're in Balochistan, they're in Sindh, they're all over the country. So this was the 18-year journey. It started with some founders who came up with the concept, built the first 5 schools with their own funds, fixed all the issues that they came up, and then went out to the world and said, okay, we are going to build 1,000 of these. Help us. When they said help us, the people of Boston stepped forward, and I'll tell you about that also. So we're at 1,000 schools, there's 7,700 teachers and principals, 145,000 students, and we're located in 100 towns and cities. We are in 50% of the districts of Pakistan. So this kind of gives you a little scatter diagram. And so we've got 55 districts in Pakistan, which represents half of the districts of Pakistan, which shows you the reach of TCF. Now let's get to the quality part that I talked about earlier. The national average for passing in the metric exam is 56%. In the TCF schools, in these poor neighborhoods, these children who have come from families where they are the first person in their family to ever get an education, the pass percentage is 90% compared to the 56% national level. That is quality students. In Pakistan, on an average, 46% of the children that do a matriculation go on for higher education. In TCF, 72% of these children are going on to get a higher education, which means that they will be able to change their lives. And we do that in a very systematic way. As they get nearer to their reaching the metric level, we have a placement desk. We start talking to these children. We say, what are you planning? What would you like to do? Make them aware of all the opportunities there are for them, all the options that are available to them. And then those that are ready to go to college, we try and help get them scholarships. Those who do not want to go to college, we send them to vocational training. Here are some of the success stories of TCF. Anam Fatma. Anam Fatma comes from a neighborhood in Karachi where there's no running water in her house, no electricity in her house, and from that environment, last year, Anam Fatma attended Harvard University at a summer program. Anam's father works as a driver in somebody's household, and he actually had to go and ask his boss, you लोग मेरी बेटी को हार्वर्ड भेजना चाहते हैं, ये अच्छी जगह है या बुरी जगह है? So that was, that's the kind of change we're talking about. Zakia Madad Ali is studying to be a doctor, and she's not the only TCF child studying to be a doctor. We even have a girl who's now in Dow Medical College, and she didn't get there out of pity. She got there on merit. Javed Ali, He's a chemical engineer. He completed his engineering from NED. He was hired as did an internship at Engro, and they were so impressed with him they gave him a full-time job. Nadeem Hussain Arain, again, here's another child. Throughout his schooling, when he was in the TCF school doing his primary and secondary education, all night he would go and work on a textile loom. Can you imagine that? None of us can imagine that. Working all night on a textile loom and then going in the morning to school and then doing so well that he is now in IBA. And the other amazing part is when we sent him to IBA, we were concerned. We thought maybe he'll be a little bit of a fish out of water because all the other kids will be from, more wealthy backgrounds and stuff and would have gone to fancy schools. Within a few months of being there, he was the secretary of the Magazine Society of the IBA, and he was one of the most popular kids over there. And he also came on a scholarship to Amherst College last summer. There's Jahazeh Nisar, another chemical engineer, and Hama Ilyas, who did her BSc in physics, and she is now in Kinnaid College. If any of you are from Lahore, you know that Kinnaid is one of the premier colleges of Lahore.